WHO says we are on the crest of a cycle. What does that suggest? Because to me, that suggests that, okay, parang it's a cycle, nangyayari every so often, and we are at a particularly high time. Is that to say, not just for the Philippines, and this is really something that happens cyclically?
Right. What we know about dengue outbreaks is they occur usually every 2 years. Certainly, the Philippines is not the only country that's affected. Thailand has seen the highest numbers of cases they have seen in 2 decades. We have high cases in Singapore, Malaysia, Laos, Cambodia, Puerto Rico, Tunisia, the South Pacific. So this is not a problem that is limited to the Philippines. It's certainly becoming more global in scope. Why it's happening, scientists are debating it. Some talk about the change in climate. I think intuitively we could say that you have more rain occurring, no more long dry spells where the rainwater dries up. And therefore your vector is readily multiplying and affecting populations.
Yung mga lamok, dumadami.
Yun lamok. Talagang problema ng lamok eh. Kasi yun naman ang nagdadala ng sakit. Now, the thing is, the mosquito can only travel 400 meters. So it is really possible through a good public health intervention to localize. And I was just reading about Calcutta. If they find a village with 1 or 2 cases, then that's where they focus on the cleanup. So there's got to be some logic to how we do cleanup and to do it really well, no? Because it's not just destroying the mosquitoes, it's also destroying the larva, the ova. No? Kasi you could have really microscopic ova there, and pag nabasa ulit, they live again.
Dr. Bravo, we're talking about cycles here. You have a theory about population, the role of climate change in the increase in dengue cases worldwide and in the Philippines?
Yes, Ami. Actually, experts say that it's not in fact climate change that makes it happen. The increase in the global incidence of dengue, which is now one of the top 10 global threats in the world today, is happening because of overpopulation, urbanization, the environmental sanitation that is really dismaying. So it is happening, and in fact, if I may say so, and this is really evidence, the incidence of dengue is increasing by leaps and bounds. It's logarithmic. It's not like in the Philippines. We know that in 1950s, from 1950 up to now, the increase of incidence has been 30 to 50 times more. So maybe it's now just about 200. If we don't do something, in 5 years, it's going to be 500,000 per year. It's increasing, and no one can really deny that.
Then how do you see it as a public health interventionist? How should we see it? We're still talking about things larger than all of us. People are clamoring for cures, but given that we're talking about environment and population, is it more constructive to still look at this as something that can still be prevented? Notwithstanding the exponential growth that you're citing, does the adage still hold true, that prevention is still the best cure? And what is the simplest way for people to look at this in terms of prevention?
Well, as a public health person, I completely agree. I mean, the investments, the time, the energy, the ideas have to go into prevention. I was just saying earlier, this idea of releasing calamity funds to local governments or local areas that have outbreaks is actually inverted. We should actually be releasing the funds prior to the outbreak. So we do know that this is here too, and therefore the investments need to go into cleaning. What happens is we are rewarding local governments for outbreaks. They have an outbreak, then
we give them
yeah. So
money.
It's like you're trying to catch those who are falling off the cliff, when actually what you need to do is to build a fence around the cliff so that people don't fall off. Now, good epidemiology is still the backbone of public health. So when you pick up 1 or 2 cases, 3 cases, 4 cases in an area, you've just got to do extraordinary measures to control the vector. Can you control it completely? Absolutely not. But you can reduce the risk. And so the numbers that we're seeing now come from the inability to prepare for what should have been a predicted outbreak. It was the same with measles.
You were talking
We
about,
knew
you were
the
talking
numbers
about
were
India a
down.
while ago. 1 or 2 cases, they have massive intervention. Is that the case?
In Kolkata, if they have 1 or 2 cases, then they start the focus to clean up there. They focus on the destruction of the larvae there, and they try to make sure that you break the mode of transmission.
How do you do that? How do you destroy the larva?
Fumigation is their
Well,
way, right?
fumigation will destroy your adults, the ones that are flying.
But
Okay?
the larvae?
The larvae are in water, and they are in clean water. So actually, if you put, sometimes you put salt,
Soap,
or you
yes,
put
or soap.
or you put
Yeah.
vinegar,
Clorox. Yeah.
or you
Soap
put
lang.
oil.
Yeah.
In clean water, the mosquitoes
won't
will
go
not
there.
breed there.
Yeah. Yes.
So we just need to really do that and make sure, particularly I think for the Philippines in schools, because this is a daytime biter. And the kids are in school during the day. So I think the education sector has a big role to play in prevention of future outbreaks. But we have to front load the funding and the intervention. Don't do it after. This is just catching people falling off the cliff.
Apart from Kolkata, can you think of any other country, maybe somewhere in Southeast Asia, that is responding well to this threat? Like maybe Singapore or
Indonesia,
one of the
perhaps?
Southeast Asian countries? Is there a model that we can?
Well, Thailand is also doing what it can in terms of community cleanup measures, and they're really good. They're really good at that, but their numbers are still high. So, we're up against a vector-borne disease. You've got to control the vector, and you just have to destroy it where you can.
But of course, with all due respect,
Sure.
we've been doing that. We've been fumigating.
That's
We've
right.
been throwing away
We've
water.
taught people time and again
Yeah,
to
but-
please cover your baldes, to
don't
make
leave
sure
water
that
standing.
you
We've
even
been wearing
get rid of your
pajamas.
bromeliads where water
Exactly.
usually
And how about
gets stagnant.
the rains that we have every year? We have 6 months of rain. How about the roofs that will get all those water? The clean water is on the roof, on the leaves, on the trees.
Well,
They
that's
can
why.
actually be
Yes.
places where larvae and where the mosquitoes will breed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but I
well,
think-
it is
no,
during
part of
the
the rainy
preventive
season.
point.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about the water, no. Part of the preventive is even telling our boys and girls to wear something bright,
And use
not
repellents.
dark,
Use repellents.
use repellent. So, in other words, we've done as much as we can, to prevent an outbreak, but it keeps happening.
Well,
So,
yeah.
I guess the question is,
Yeah, but
is there a better way?
Well, that's the thing, right? The virus tends to resurge every 2 years. Why? We don't know. Every 2 years, we expect it to
so next
multiply.
year, wala.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So count 2 years from now, and then we know that really have
really?
hotspots. Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yes. So that's why I was saying.
That's fair warning. We should
the
prevent.
the
I mean,
epidemiology is a very important part of the intervention. The moment you see 1 or 2, in Calcutta, they're monitoring the hospitals. Any reported case of dengue, they trace where does that patient live,
To nip it
and
in
then
the
they
bud.
clean up in the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of work, but right now that's all we have.